Hello and welcome to my channel, and if you have already been to my channel, then welcome back. My name is Kalina and I'm an expert in public relations and mass communications. I'm now with that background with the flower. By the way, let me know what you think about it, because I'm still not sure how I feel about this flower. I don't know. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. I will appreciate any opinions. Thank you in advance for that. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how to recognize which thoughts are yours and which are not. And I know this sounds a little creepy, but a lot of things that you're thinking are not truly your thoughts, because we have a lot of influence from medias, from people around us, and we cannot always understand that we're influenced. And that's a little crazy to think about, but a lot of times when you think thoughts, especially negative things about yourself or about anything, that may actually not be your thoughts. You may have been influenced by somebody, or you may have been influenced by certain medias or social medias, etc. So, how do we recognize which thoughts are ours and which are not? The truth is that information, let's say the word information, information, something that forms inside your mind. And how do you get this information? Usually with your senses, your eyes, your ears, and all the other senses. And some people are saying that there's a sixth sense, and I actually believe in it. Like, my intuition is my sixth sense. I can't quite put a finger on it, but it's sometimes I feel something is true, or sometimes I feel I cannot trust somebody, or sometimes I feel something is going to happen, right? This is intuition, and in my case it really works. At least for me it really works. But in general, we are perceiving the world and we are gathering information about the world with our senses: eyes, ears, the sense of touch, the sense of taste, right? So when we get information with those senses, there's a thought form that forms in our mind, and it comes from the environment. It is not originally our thought. So this is something that we need to recognize, because we are not truly our thoughts. I'm not my thoughts. You're not your thoughts. You're something that is beyond your thoughts. And your thoughts are something that you can control and you can monitor. And you can recognize if they're yours or not. This is something that we can truly work with. And those thoughts are impacting us a lot. So it is very important that we understand where our thoughts are coming from. So what can be thoughts that are not truly yours and that are very often not even true? Well, one thing can be critique. And even though critique is good, let's say you need critique in order to improve your work, but that critique needs to come in appropriate ways, from the appropriate sources and from the appropriate people. And it shouldn't be constant critique and that's all. Because when you have constant critique, what is going to happen is your focus is going to be on the negative. And your full experience of the world and you is going to be that you're somehow not good enough. You're not doing anything right. And the reality is that not everybody is perfect. People are not perfect. So let's say you have done something 90% is good. Maybe you have done a great job with something, and there is one detail that is wrong, or something that's imperfect, or something that can be better next time, right? Well, if there's constant critique, and if it's overly focused on that one negative thing, then that is going to alter your thoughts, the way that you think about yourself and about the world. That's going to be altered, and it's going to be, the focus is going to be brought on the negative. And the other thing is that a lot of people are giving critique with bad intentions. So they actually want to lie to you. A lot of times people will tell me something that is not wrong. They would bring it up and they will say that it's wrong. And this is kind of a critique that is going to take you in the wrong direction, because you're not doing anything wrong. It's just the source that the critique is coming from, they're wrong. So you need to watch out. And another time, people can be with bad intentions. They want to intentionally impact your thoughts. And this is why you should be very cautious with the critique. Not everybody has the right to critique you. That's the truth. Not everybody has the right to critique you. And by the way, if you're thinking that if you're the one who's constantly giving critique to people, criticizing people, very often that is not well accepted. So maybe you need to hold back on this, okay? Give critique, give opinions, especially negative opinions, only when you're asked, only when you have permission for it, and only when you know for sure that it is within your competency. So watch out with giving critique, because that can really put you in a situation that, and people will start thinking that you're negative. You're going to be always the one who is criticizing everything, and people will start avoiding you. Because that's negativity, you're pretty much focused on the negative. You don't see the positive, you're focused on the negative. So watch out with the critique giving, and watch out with the critique that you're receiving. Very often critique is presented as help, but you need to think, is this particular critique helping you or not? Or is this creating lower vibrations and negative emotions that are ultimately impacting your psychology in a bad way? Okay? So another thing that impacts your thoughts is people's opinions. So be cautious when you listen to people's opinions, because when somebody states their opinion, this opinion is really about them. And you can understand how their mind works. But this is not the ultimate truth. Very often when somebody says opinion, that ultimately forms a thought in your head, and you start thinking about, oh, probably I should have the same opinion. Or let's say the opinion is negative and it is about something that is about you, that you're doing, or somebody that is from your social group or whatever, that is very much like you. Then you're gonna start thinking, are you actually doing something wrong when this person has this bad opinion about you? Be very cautious. Somebody's opinion doesn't need to be anything, doesn't need to mean anything. It just means that they think certain ways. Opinion is, there's some brain out there and they're thinking thoughts about certain things and about certain topics. This is pretty much opinion. I think this about that. I think this is right, I think this is wrong. That's really opinions. They're not facts, they're not the ultimate truth, but they can give away the person and their character and their personality very often, but they also can impact your own mind. And even if somebody states some opinion and you have the opposite opinion, but it is on a topic that doesn't really concern you, it is not something that you should think about. Now that opinion is a distraction. That's a distraction because suddenly, instead of thinking about your sphere of competency, instead of thinking about building up your life, maybe your relationships, your work, you start thinking about what do you think about this matter that doesn't even concern you and that is not within your sphere of competency. Okay? Let's say somebody has opinion about a celebrity and their relationship. And you hear this opinion and you suddenly start thinking, oh, but that's wrong. This opinion is wrong. I think this and that way. And suddenly you start researching this celebrity, you start researching their relationships, maybe their personal life. And in this minute, you're going to be like, wait a minute, why do you care about this person's personal life? It's their private life, right? You can like this person as a celebrity, you can like their work, you can like their creativity, but do you think to start forming opinions about their personal life? That's destruction. Why do you need to know about this? Or let's say at work somebody is discussing a colleague and they're discussing their personal life and they're stating some opinion, and then you state the opposite opinion. Why are you even discussing somebody's personal life, right? Now that's gossip. You're being brought into gossip, right? Because that's not something that you should think about. It's none of your business. So again, regardless if it's true or not, it's none of your business, okay? So be very conscious about the opinions. Oh, and something more. As I said, as I have already mentioned previously, that thing that you're thinking, your brain, your neurons that you make the connections between, they are making it about you. Okay? So you may start thinking, okay, this person is wrong for this or about that. Now your neurons and your subconscious will make that about you. And it is very, very creepy to think about, but it's like you can start thinking, what if I'm in this situation? What would I do? And now you have that subconscious that is going to start thinking how to bring you in this situation. Or they're gonna start looking for similar situation for you, but that may not be the most favorable situation, right? So people can influence you with their opinions, so be very, very cautious. Be very, very cautious. And there's a third thing that influences your thoughts, that creates thoughts that are not ultimately yours, and this is medias. Medias, social medias, everything that is public. This is why people can influence you with different images, with different statements. A lot of times they can drag you into internet drama, like in some comments or something like that. Other times thoughts can be created in your head that are not ultimately your thinking. They're not yours. You just start thinking negatively, but that's not truly your own opinion. It's not truly your own thoughts. Okay, so a lot of medias are created with that intention to influence people. And it is not that you should ignore medias or that you shouldn't watch anything on medias or social medias, but you need to mind the source. So when you see that something is impacting you negatively, you need to be mindful. You need to cut that out. I have had situations that I know, let's say I'm watching certain channel. I know this particular channel is not stating my opinions and it is showing a whole different mindset, but I watch it with certain idea. I want to understand something. Maybe I want to make a research and understand this other person's mindset. So I'm very clear with my mind. I'm very mindful why I am watching this. Sometimes I'm trying to see if it can actually impact me. Other times I'm trying to understand this mindset, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to consume it and absorb it. That doesn't mean it's going to turn into my mindset. For example, I have mentioned that I write criminal novels. Well, very often I am watching things that are connected to true crime or certain criminal stories. For example, a while ago I was watching some materials about the serial killer Ted Bundy. There's actually a movie that is made about it, and there's also a lot of materials that are, you hear the actual killer Ted Bundy. Because I'm writing stories about murders basically, and about how people investigate murders. And the fact that I'm watching a story about serial murderer, or the fact that I want to understand how this serial murderer thinks and why that serial murderer murders people. And that's, by the way, something that a lot of people still cannot understand. They're still researching. They're still creating professions like a profiler or a criminal psychologist and things like that. So this is a topic that is very, very deep. Some people are that deeply damaged psychologically that they can actually kill another person, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm going to start implementing that thinking. That doesn't mean that that's going to be my own opinions that this serial murderer has. That doesn't mean that I'm going to start being anxious again because I have already dealt with anxiety, right? And just knowing that somebody is out there murdering people or those people exist can create anxiety in me, right? Because they usually, very often, specifically Ted Bundy, I know he was murdering women, right? So that also can create anxiety in me. So again, I'm watching those things, but that is not the primary thing that I'm watching. And also I'm watching it with certain idea. There's certain research that I want to make, and it is for a novel that I'm writing. Because I need to understand how to create a murderer character and then how this murderer will be investigated, right? So again, that's a little extreme example, but there could be other examples. There could be things that they're not as extreme as stories about murders or true crimes, but there's still something that is making you think negatively. And I think this can be a little more damaging because it can create thoughts that are not your thoughts, but still you're not really aware that those thoughts are created. Let's say somebody is explaining to you why not everybody can have their own business, right? Well, okay, let's watch this video. Let's watch what could be something that you potentially do wrong in your business, let's say. Let's learn that. But what if you get overly focused on these things and you start self-sabotaging your business or your career, right? So again, you should start monitor what kind of sources impact you and how they are impacting you. You need to understand exactly why you're watching this particular thing. And you need to be clear about who you are. You need to be clear about what are your thoughts, right? Because if there is a serial murderer that says, I'm going to murder women because they're bad and they have, let's say, rejected me and they don't love me, if I watch that, I'm like, oh, okay, this person is crazy. But that can be a material for my next novel when I'm writing about murder. But there can be some young men, let's say, who's going to watch that and they're going to be like, yes, this person kills women because they don't love him. I'm gonna take that example and I'm going to do the same. Okay? So do you see the difference how things can impact somebody if they don't have their own core belief and if they're not clear about which thoughts are their own thoughts, right? Can you see how somebody can be highly impacted by somebody else's thoughts that are not truly your thoughts? And again, I'm giving an extreme example, and I'm taking this example from my other activity, which is the criminal novel writing. But I'm giving this example because that's going to make you truly understand how you need to watch out for what you're consuming, who impacts you, and you need to have this sense of discernment about your thoughts. What are the true thoughts that come from your core? Okay? This is why in today's society it's so easy to impact somebody, because people get so easily influenced. You know, they just listen to something, it sounds so logical, and they start implementing it. They start just thinking it and they start doing it. And that's actually very wrong. That can be very, very dangerous. So you need to start understanding, and you need to start making that difference between your own thoughts and the thoughts that come from your environment, from different sources, and they're in your head because you're influenced by them. Somebody put them in your head. You know, if I think, oh my god, how stupid am I because I wrote this wrong. Well, that's apparently coming from somebody. That's coming from a source from outside. Maybe at some workplace, some boss has nitpicked on my mistakes and called me stupid, or behaved with me like if I'm stupid. Or maybe that's something that a colleague was doing, you know, and that's influence. Because right now I can say, oh my god, I have done this mistake, I've written this wrong. I'll correct it. I'll open the Word file and I'll correct it. And that's cool. It's corrected. That's fine. I don't need to overthink it. I don't need to make it mean something about me. It's just, I'm a human being and I do mistakes. And that mistake is, you know, this mistake. I've corrected it and that's fine. I'm moving on. Okay, so I think I got a little deeper in today's video, and I'm very interested to hear your comments. If you would like to share what you think about that topic, have you noticed somebody or something has impacted you in certain ways? I'm very interested to hear about your opinion. Of course, if you would like to share, you can leave a comment down there. Also, you can like and share this video. You can subscribe for my channel, and I'm also going to put a link below to my website so that you can see a little more about who I am and what I do. Thank you very much and have a great day.